Okay, so here is my summary of Shakespeare in the Bush by Laura Bohannon. The main idea of the article was produced by Laura Bohannon about Shakespeare in the Bush. It tries to explain to the elders of the Tiv people in West Africa the discoveries of cultural background such as the Europeans. The author of the article believed that the style of Shakespeare's stories and writing would be researched and understandable everywhere. Bohannon decides to tell the story of Hamlet in their language. The cultural context during their daily gatherings. By the end of the storytelling, the elders of the Tiv tribe declare that their version of the story is just as valid as the English version. They suggested that the Europeans needed elders to explain their tales and stories. My second point is that the article shapes the worldview and helps shape people to understand stories and cultural meanings. Like when the Tiv elders hear the story of Hamlet, they apply it to their own experiences in life, such as family, marriage, and their supernatural, since they base it off their own experience in Western culture. This demonstrates that it's not universal, but it's influenced by some cultural background. In a way, it's a lot different in different fonts of life. My third point is that the story challenges everyone's cultural and different views of universal views. It shows in different values about family, mortality, and authority. This may encourage the readers to question their assumptions and recognize that their cultural values are not only valid way to understand the world, but also best to be open-minded and try to view other people's opinions in life as well as their own. For my fourth point, personally, I don't have much of a cultural tradition for my family. My background consists of Greek from my mom's side and Irish from my dad's side. Some things that we like doing are like family dinners on a Sunday, playing board games together, and like further on like that. There are some traits I noticed that I get from being a mix of Greek and Irish of like how I look. So I would say like my naturally curly hair, and I picked that up a bit from my mom's side, but also my dad's side of like the Irish curls. I also have lots of freckles and that I get from my dad's side, and being able to burn easily in the sun. One point that I missed and I need to go back to was the author's assumption that Hamlet's has a universal meaning, but now as she investigated the Western worldview of the story, it also leads her to expect the Tiv elders to interpret the story the same way she does, and this causes her to view and interpret things differently and as incorrect, rather than the valid understanding shaped by their own culture. Once again, each culture is different and therefore might interpret the story differently, such as how everyone thinks, how they feel with their emotions, and that can be differently than others. So because worldview shapes meaning, communicators should seek and understand others' perspectives first. So in Shakespeare in the Bush, Bohannon's assumption that Hamlet's was universal, it led to misleading or misunderstanding, showing that the importance of adapting communication to the audience's cultural worldview was different. So my second to last point is, once I observed a cultural misunderstanding where direct eye contact was seen as respectful by one person, but disrespectful by another in certain areas of the world or like countries and regions, the difference came from their cultural worldviews about authority and politeness. This is like Shakespeare in the Bush, where the Tiv elders interpreted Hamlet through their own beliefs about family and supernatural. In both cases, different worldviews shaped how actions and meanings were perceived and led to misunderstanding rather than shared interpretation. And my last point, and to conclude this, is that the most important lesson from the article is that worldview and perception shape how people understand meaning in cultural communication, and assuming shared values can lead to misunderstanding, while recognizing the respecting different perspectives leads to clearer and more meaningful interactions. Thank you.